Today, Issues in Education has decided to visit the heartland in the United States. We're here in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I am meeting with Dr. Paul O'Malley, Superintendent of the Butler 53 School District. Tell me about how success has been with your teachers in getting them on board and kind of steering a direction that everybody can support.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, this is the first time that best practice in person has been challenged. And it wasn't a pseudo challenge, it was a real challenge, because in the past you may have piloted a program over 1 or 2 or 3 months. We have over a year's worth of the challenge that took place where the digitization of curriculum was taking place. The virtuality became virtual. And for our teachers, you know, as I always tell people, it's not always apples, butterflies, cupcakes, and daisies. It was not an easy journey. It was a very difficult journey, because you have to remember that that's how our teachers are taught. They come out of college and they really don't have that digital background. And so for schools, the biggest challenge for us was providing pathways for them to be successful, and to be successful very, very quickly. And what we did is we worked with our teachers to develop a model. We call it a flip the classroom model, where it's no longer the administration telling the teachers, this is what you need to do to be successful. It's the teachers telling the administration, hey, we know what we need to do. We are going to provide to you pathways after we've piloted 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways that we can do education better. And that's exactly what we did.
So how do the faculty, how do they embrace technology and in terms of their role? How does that do it?
Yeah, so what I could share with you is we actually went through a metamorphosis. We were trying to look at better ways to design our classroom. We called it the ideal classroom. And we actually failed in our first attempt. It was an absolute failure. It was miserable, to say the least, and it ended up going in the opposite direction, where it was supposed to be super exciting. It was supposed to be state of the art, and the teacher was expected to use it during the course of the year. It was the exact opposite. They didn't use any of the technologies because it was actually really a bad experience. And so what we did is we took all of that information plus previous year's investigations that we accumulated over a 1, 2, 3 year period of time, and we said, you know what, we're going for broke. This time we know the ideal classroom is going to be something that is really jacked up on steroids. And so we have really just state-of-the-art MacBooks that our teachers are going to be given over the course of the year. They have iPads that they're going to be given, which is just amazing to say the least, because we know that those tools are going to be more utilized than ever before. We have 2 giant-sized TV screens, bigger than my screen in my house, which is about 80 inches. But you know, where we're going into the future is it's so much quicker than I could have ever expected. And the universities already have this down, right? They already have it down to an entirely different science. It's just slower to migrate to the lower grades, but guess what? Now it's there. And so you're getting to a point in time where students not only can learn in the classroom, they can learn through the classroom, and there's an expectation. There's going to be a day when we're actually having class with students in a foreign country outside of ours, and it'll be through the virtual world, through the internet, through our websites, and it's just going to be so much more powerful.
It'll be here pretty quick.
I think it's right around the corner.
You're going to learn French in a whole different way.
There's no doubt about it.
You'll be competent.
And you know it.
So, you know, the learning styles of students are all different for different curriculum areas. How do you kind of balance technology with learning style with the amount of time that the teacher has to spend one-on-one with students?
So what you're basically going to experience is, in the virtual world, you're going to have students that are more advanced that may not necessarily need the interventions. They're not going to need the interventions to the extent that they thought they needed. And so those students are going to be able to advance at a faster pace, right? And part of our goals, part of the board goals that we negotiated when I signed a contract here, was having an individualized learning plan where you can actually have a plan for each student. I think that day is right around the corner, because you're going to be able to create a curriculum that's solely purposed for really the desires and the needs and the passions of that student. I think it's going to really change really quickly, as opposed to forcing upon students the education that we feel is best for those students, and that's not always the case. And so we're going to see some things that are really, really unique. We're going to see some doors that have opened that have never been so open before, The question is, how do we lead in these times, and how do we get people on board, especially with the bandwidth, really the bandwidth of individuals that we're working with. It's the people that have just graduated from the universities, and then we have people that have graduated many, many years ago. It doesn't mean that one's more advanced than the other. We just have to find the fulcrum where we could balance the advanced with the less advanced, so we're all advanced as a school district.
So tell me, when you started in education, technology was all different. The bandwidth didn't need to be as wide.
Oh, yeah.
What did you experience when you started education? What was it like in the classroom?
Well, I was very fortunate. I taught at Stevenson High School, and we were pretty advanced, right? It's one of the most competitive high schools in the entire country, and I taught natural science, physics, and chemistry.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah,
Good.
yeah. And so what we used in that classroom was really something that was germane with respect to what we're doing now, but it was advanced with respect to what was taking place at the time. But what I can share with you is the lab experience could be far more accelerated in ways that really could benefit a student, and especially in the science realm where you can't conceptualize the nanoscale or the microscale. You're going to be able to do that at a much, much greater pace than ever before, especially when you have something such as coronavirus, which we have a better idea of what it is scientifically, right?
And now the pixels on screens, you can really see in great detail what you maybe couldn't have seen back in the day.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you could literally create some of the structures, the molecular structures, and really take a good look at what really takes place within the molecular well-being.
Right. So, we get all excited about all the possibilities, but there are those students that struggle for a variety of reasons, not because they're not smart, but that they are disadvantaged
for sure.
in terms of their home environment, not having, the connectivity. And then when they come to school, other students might have spent 7-8 hours over the weekend on technology in their home, and they haven't. How do you bring those students along?
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to what you just asked in terms of how can we advance our students. Not every student is going to work well in the virtual setting. And so if we could free up those resources so that those students who need that connection, because it's the interconnection, the school provides that interconnection at levels that really keep our kids engaged where they may not be engaged. And by providing additional resources in that area, we can keep those kids in school, and we can make it more personalized, quite possibly with reducing our class sizes.
What do you think the future for technology in education, how does it affect the role of the teacher, how it affects, how the accelerated learning can happen for students, the global society? Where do you think it's going to take us?
We are going virtual. You're going to have the classroom, and we're actually working at this point in time where our kids are going to zoom into the classroom with kids in a foreign country, and they are going to have class. Because somewhere in the world, it's within the time frame that our kids can interact with kids outside of the classroom. And I think that'll build better relationships, and we'll have a more global, international perspective of who we are and what we represent. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, there's no doubt in my mind that we could call NASA, and just for a brief moment, why don't you give us access to the rover or the drone that's on Mars? And why don't you let our students access that technology and just get a taste of the greatness that they're able to get to. And what's even better with that, it can cross all lines. It doesn't matter where you live, you can have access to that. So there's no doubt in my mind we're going to cross those roads. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to have classrooms that look so much different than before. And there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to be able to chase our passions, which is exactly what education should be. It should be about passions, right? And I spoke about this a little bit before. Sometimes we're forced to learn stuff, and when you're forced to learn stuff, it doesn't come out the same, right? As opposed to, this is my passion, this is what I want to seek, and guess what? This is what I've learned. I'm going to share it with you in the classroom, and then it becomes a contagion, a very good contagion.
Yeah, this is what I can do with my knowledge.
Right, there's no doubt in my mind. And then corporations are going to modify as well, because as you've seen, some of the corporations have thrived, some of them have not thrived. And we know, based on our capitalist perspective, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, we know that one of the things we do better than any other country is we are creative, we are intuitive, and we make modifications very, very quickly. And that's what you're going to see in the classroom. We're going to see the same actions, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well, it's been great being with you.
Absolutely.
And I hope everybody who's been watching this, please reach out and contact Paul. He's got a lot of information for you, can help you along. And if you have some advice for him, please contact him direct.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Awesome. You too.